Hello, Assalamualaikum. Calling again for Focus B.
Yes, we hear.
Alright, Amethyss. Alright. Okay, so Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome both teams, Focus B and also Amethyst, to the final round, the finals of Dean's Cup 2025. So this is the path you guys took for you guys to get there, to get to the finals. Now, as for the siding, Focus B is government and Amethyst is opposition based on a coin toss. So just quick note to both teams. After the motion is released, you guys may enter your own private breakout room labeled breakout room 1 and breakout room 2. Government can enter breakout room 1 and opposition can enter breakout room 2. And then I will go in and ask you guys the speaking order. Okay, that's all. We will be releasing motion in a few minutes.
Dengar bosku, dengar.
Okay, so attention to both teams. Final, the motion for the final round of Dean's Cup 2025 is this house would limit the amount of wealth a person is allowed to inherit. This house would limit the amount of wealth a person is allowed to inherit. Your prep time is 30 minutes. Debate starts at 9:15. Good luck, everyone. May the best team win. You may join your breakout rooms now.
Hmm. Dari bilik je dia.
Uh, Haziq, Aiman, and Zul. You guys know who Yutimara is?
Is Baim. What's your name? Yutimara Baim.
What? I don't. Why is the UT Mara here?
Hola, is Baim ke?
Yeah,
Eh, Baim.
it's
Hi,
Baim.
Baim.
Stop, UT Mara. Stop. Ni being trying to be part of Mara. Stop.
I have reasons.
Stop.
Why?
Why are you betraying IIU? How dare you?
Maybe bro is judging another debate.
Baim, just nak tanya, you don't have exam ke?
Bapak tak bersyukur je.
Oh,
Orang
faham.
nak tolong, lepas tu kau nak question lah. Terima je lah.
No lah, no, because
Tak bersyukur
because
je.
you're the only gombak. Because you're the only like senior gombak here.
Mampus
Besides
lah.
Zul lah, but you're the more senior.
My next paper is on the 1st of February.
Oh, patutlah.
Kalau it's like in 2 days, I tak join lah.
Oh, understand. Thanks for joining. Thanks for helping us.
Sama.
By the way. Hanafi, can you ask Hanafi to reply, please? He's been ghosting me for a week now.
Call him je lah. Dia memang macam tu.
But I asked
Real.
Munira also, Baim. Dia tak reply juga.
Dua-dua sama. You ask them apa?
Uh, I asked about judging lah. Judging for Dean Scout.
Ada main macam tu. Kalau dia
Because
malas.
sebab Hanafi assured like few times, masa like 2 times, and then when I went to Gombak for open, dia cakap free, and then tak free.
Busy dah tu.
Hello, Assalamualaikum judges. So we're gonna do roll call first. Aiman Mujadid. Jadi as you can see his name. Okay, so next is Haziq.
I'm here.
Okay,
Haziq still exists.
Haziq as well. Okay. Next is Baim.
Ada.
Alright. Zul. Hi Zul. Okay. So and then Zaki Mutun. Alright, can see the response. Thank you.
Aiman Mujadid doh, gila lah. Aiman Mujadid. Yelah. Aiman.
What?
Aiman
What?
Mujadid.
What are you
is
on,
wrong?
Baim? What are you on?
Aiman Mujadid.
Bro.
Assalamualaikum, brother Ahmad Zaki. How are you? Long time no see. I hope you are doing well, insyaAllah.
Aduh, Baim Al-Habsyi ni pun satu.
Dah Zul senyap. I am saying
Avoid Baim crazy.
I am saying hi to one of our beloved alumni. I have not seen him in a while. Alhamdulillah. Good to see you're doing well. Inshallah, we will be having another alumni gathering this year. Hope to see you there, inshallah.
Hi, just a quick note to judges. I just sent the new score sheet for the final round. So we will be using that score sheet for the finals. Yeah. You guys can fill in according to your own column. I've already written down your names at the bottom of the score sheet, so you guys can look and just fill in the column according to your name lah. Okay, that's all. Debate starts at 9:15. I will be calling the participants at 9:14, so you guys can get ready.
Yete. You know Yete? Yete. You know Yete or not, Zik?
Harriet, are we live?
What?
I'm
Yete.
asking Harriet if like we're broadcasting.
Oh, I don't think we are we?
Yeah, better
Aimanmu,
check that
Aimanmu
first.
jadi, Aimanmu jadi. Oh my god. Yete, Yete.
Isi.
I got a big ass forehead though. Oh my gosh. Lapangan terbang KLIA. God damn.
Crazy.
People ask why I cover my forehead, you know. It's quite obvious. A blind person can like feel and it's speak. Yete.
No,
Who
but I
is
do not know what that is.
who is Harry Godparents? What an obscene name.
That's not the ask.
If it's a name that will suit you, but him for real.
No, what in the world? Some things just shouldn't be said, so I'm so sorry.
Nah, later when you have got children, I'm gonna be like, yeah, that's your Harry godparent.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Hey, you guys, sem break bila?
Sem break,
We
what
don't
is
have
that?
sem break. We don't have sem break.
Actually, after your exams, you don't have like a 1 week break.
We have like a 1 week break, but that's after like when
Is it in February?
Like
I don't
when
think it's in
when? Or
February.
you guys do not have any more breaks.
The
Oh, we do,
Yeah.
no worries.
baru nak
Yeah,
ajak
February.
Pro M. Baru nak ajak Pro M. There's
Where's
MIDP Pro M in 22nd February.
Where's 2nd February?
Second, tengok
Yeah.
jadual jap.
Where's our
If you
break?
guys, if
I
you
thought
guys
our
are
break
free,
is
jom
in-
lah. I will be more than happy to team up.
Oh, our break is 17 to 23 February, if I'm not mistaken.
Ah, jom
Pergilah.
lah.
Baik kau pergi Pro M.
Jom lah.
Yo.
Kalau kau
Online
free,
or not?
it's no lah, obviously.
Yes. Tak boleh, jom.
But then I don't know if Gombak can send you lah. I don't mind paying.
Oh,
I can
yeah.
go with you guys if you guys are willing to pay. I can pay my half.
What do you mean? What do you mean paying?
You have to pay to enter competitions. So something you're foreign because you're a Gombak student.
Real.
Damn, sian Kuantan.
Our break is... Oh, no lah.
March lah kan? Our break is
Yeah,
in
it's
March.
March. It's March.
Lambat.
Our revision week is 17 to 23.
Bro, you are not going to debate on
Nah, I'm not
revision
going
week.
during revision week, man.
Block 2 has not been nice.
March got Pro M competitions as well, I think. Can lah.
Yeah.
Nanti
But that's the thing.
I'll let you guys know.
For March, we're only... the only break is... 3 to 9.
3 to 9.
Kesian
3 to
though,
9 March.
guys. Kesian though. I'm like, my heart aches for you. You don't even.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, but like, it's like,
It's bad when you compare to others. Okay, when you're surrounded with people.
Don't compare to others
Yeah.
to save your mental state.
True.
Life is fun. Compare to the clinical year students, then you'll feel a lot better.
Is the debate happening here?
who's in the clinical years?
Adib, but he's not here.
Adib is in the game.
Dia macam santai je.
Bro is literally judging from the hospital in Termelo.
What the Oh, I thought when he said hospital, I thought he meant he sakit ke apa. He's doing
No.
his legend. What a freaking legend, man.
Hey, when
Yeah.
did we us? It's already 9:15.
Yeah, that's right. Is the debate happening here or in the breakout room?
Where is the guy
Hello?
handling it?
Me.
Where?
Yeah, we can start now. So, judges, are you guys ready?
Yes.
Ready, alright. Hi, sir.
Hi.
Okay, so, let me ready.
I want to watch the
Satu
debate
kakak
as
beli,
long as I can, okay?
Okay.
Bagi dulu kat Just a quick heads up to the judges as well. Judges and also participants. This final is going to be broadcasted both in our IG and also in YouTube. Yeah. So just a heads up lah. So
Nak carut, nak carut.
okay. So good evening, the honorable adjudicators, debaters, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the final round of the Dean's Cup competition. The motion for today is this house would limit the amount of wealth an individual may inherit. This house will limit the amount of wealth a person is allowed to inherit. The government team for this debate is Team Fochuss B with Miss Mariam as the Prime Minister, Miss Miza as the Deputy Prime Minister, Miss Alice as the Whip, and the reply speech will be delivered by Miss Miza. Then for the opposition team, we have from Team Amethyss with Miss Arina as the Leader of Opposition, Miss Alia as the Deputy Leader of Opposition, Miss Humaira as the Opposition Whip, and the reply speech will be delivered by Miss Alia. Now let me introduce the adjudicators for this round. The first adjudicator is Mr. Aiman Mujaddid. The second is Mr. Haziq. The third is Mr. Ibrahim. The fourth is Miss Zul. The fifth judge is Mr. Ahmad Zaki Moten. The chief adjudicator is Mr. Aiman Mujaddid. Now, then I would like to explain the rules and regulations for this debate competition. In this debate, for the substantive speech, the bell will be rung once at the first minute to show that points of information can be delivered. The bell will rung once at the 6th minute to signal that no more POIs will be accepted. The bell will rung twice at the 7th minute. For the reply speech, the bell will rung once at the 1st minute and the bell will rung twice at the 4th minute. Now we come into our debate today to start out the case for the government team. Let us welcome the first speaker, Miss Mariam.
Wait, give me a second. All right, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, I bid to the honorable judges, respected chairperson, and all members of the floor. The motion that we are given today is this house would limit the amount of wealth a person is allowed to inherit. So before I dive into my points, let me clarify some terms in the motion, and later on I will give a mechanism as well as the status quo. All right, so the first term that I would like to clarify is wealth. So wealth in this context is the amount of money and properties that a person has, regardless if they have fully paid for it or not. As for example, let's say that you have a house registered under your name, then it's considered wealth in this context, even though you haven't finished paying all the loans yet. Then the second term that I would like to clarify is person. So the person in this context is citizens of Malaysia that is of legal age until 55 years old. And then the third term that I would like to clarify is inherit. So inherit means receive from their blood-related families. Right, so now I will proceed with the mechanism. So the mechanism that we propose is the government will implement a policy where every registered citizens of Malaysia will have to report the amount of wealth that they have. And if it exceeds the maximum amount that has been set, they will have to lend their wealth to the government until they reach 55 years old. And later on, and after they've reached 55 years old, the wealth will be returned back to them. But for special cases like emergency, the government will return the wealth if needed. Now, I would like to talk about the status quo. So currently, there's no act that states a fixed amount of wealth that a person can inherit it. So everyone can own as much wealth as they want, and the outcome is the rich will continue to be richer and the poor will remain poor, which is not really a good thing. Alright, so moving on, I will give a quick rundown on what's going to happen throughout this debate. So, first, I will give 1 point, and then my Deputy Prime Minister will give 2 points, and lastly, my third speaker, the government whip, will rebut and defend our case. So, to start with, we have 3 points in total. The first point is to prevent wasteful uses of money. The second point is wealth creates family conflict. And the third point is wealth disparities between the rich and the poor. So the second and the third point will be given by my Deputy Prime Minister. All right, so I will start with my point, which is to prevent wasteful uses of money. So what we mean by this is, as we know, humans are inclined to be greedy, and we've all heard before about how frontal lobe develop in your later 20s. So, if we just let the young adults freely use the wealth that they inherited, wouldn't this lead to issues like debt and gambling? Because they couldn't think properly yet. They doesn't have the capacity to think in the most logical way yet. And let's say Amir, his family is rich, and when his parents pass away, he receives a ton of wealth, and he just turned 20. So obviously, he will have many desire for things. For example, like sport car, expensive watches, and beautiful big house. At first, yes, he probably can afford it, but later on, he might end up having low balance in his bank account, and then he has to take out loan. In worst case scenario, he might be at loose ends and end up trying gambling in order to make up for his losses. This not only harms his life, but also put a harm on people around him. There's stuff like money laundering as well. The chance might be low for him to resort to that, but it's never zero. By putting a limit to the amount of wealth that one could have, we are protecting the citizen in the long term, as well as the economy and reputation of the country. We are looking at things from the bigger picture with a lot of stakeholders in mind, which are the citizens, the economy of the country, and society. So, before I continue, do the opposition have any POI? Or I'll take it as no. Alright, so before I end my speech, I would like to state the burden of proof for both sides. So the opposition side have to prove to us and the judges that unlimited amount of wealth a person can have will bring more benefits to the people and the country compared to the drawbacks. While we, from the government side, we have to prove to the opposition and the judges why this policy should be implemented and the importance behind this policy. I would like to reaffirm my stance in this debate, which is this house would limit the amount of wealth a person can inherit it. I've never been more proud to propose my case. All right, that's all that I have. Thank you.
Hello, Harry. We can proceed.
Oh my God, sorry, everyone. The first speaker of the government team spent 5 minutes and 41 seconds. Then to start the case from the opposition, here is the first speaker, Miss Arina. Here.
Only covering one aspect of the people.
I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Good evening to the respected speaker, conscious timekeeper, honorable judge, member of the opposite team, and members of the House. I, Arina, as the head of opposition team, will state our stand to oppose with the motion that this House believes that this house believes that the amount of wealth this house limits the amount of wealth someone can inherit. Okay. Before we start with the issues and specifically state our argument, let me redirect you to what the Prime Minister of the government team has stated. They said that this wealth will be wasted will be wasteful in their first point because it will be given to these two kids. Okay, based on their first example, it will be given to a kid who isn't mature. But reality, it will usually parents and families will only let their kids inherit their wealth at a mature age. Okay, with that, I will be moving on to my point, which is freedom of choice. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you agree with me that everyone has human rights? What the government is doing is basically stripping away these rights from these individuals. They are also discouraging people because when the government takes this away from them, it will slim the chances of how much money their generation will inherit. Okay, my main point is that it it is the freedom of choice of someone, and it depends on the individual who wants to give the money, the property, or any form of wealth. When someone writes their when sorry, we believe it is unrealistic for you to limit how much someone can inherit wealth because it depends on
Wait, POI.
that. No, thank you. On top, it depends on individual choice. Okay, impact on their family dynamics. Generational hard work. It is usually to help their generations, their younger kids, their grandchildren, even the generations after them. It depends. This money that they have worked so hard will be given to their family members. And when you limit this will limit the chances of the fairness. Okay, let's say one of the family members will inherit the family business and the other one will pursue his studies. Okay, maybe in a world where this family gives more money to the first child because he will handle the family business. Okay, like I said, it depends on the will of the person who is giving their wealth. It is their last request on how their assets will be divided among his or their kids. Let me emphasize again, it purely depends on the individual's choice. If someone prefers to give an amount of money or a sum of wealth, it is up to them. Who are we to decide where this money goes? Who are we to decide what their hard work or their blood, sweat, and tears will fall and before when you are stripping away the chances of their kids, of their generations, of their future generations to inherit this wealth. Let's be realistic, guys. When you have a position, whether it's property, lands, or assets, you will want to choose where this property, where your wealth, where it's going to go. Would you want me to choose where your money is going? No. Who am I? I have no rights. I have no rights to choose for you. It is your choice. It is your human rights. It is in your human rights. You, as an individual, as someone who has worked so hard, you have the choice. You have the freedom to do whatever you want with your wealth. And when someone does this, it's usually with a lot of deep thinking. Okay, people who are rich, obviously they will have accountants. Obviously they will have financial advisors. They will ask for their advisors on how much money should they divide among their children, how much money should they donate, how much money what property do they have will go to each children. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, with that you can see where the government is basically delusional because the government is stripping away human rights. Ladies and gentlemen, all of you must want to have the choice, the freedom of choice, where your money will go, where your wealth will go, where your blood, sweat, and tears will go. That I would like to end my speech. Thank you.
Tapi leader, thank you, Miss Arina, leader of oppositions, and 5 minutes and 53 seconds. Continue our debate today. I would like to call the second speaker of the government team, Miss Miza. Here.
Wait, hold up. Let me sort out my note. All right. Let me begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Wealth is often seen as a blessing, but unregulated inheritance has turned it into a curse that perpetuates inequality and stifles opportunity, and even tears families apart. Today, we stand as a government where fairness and opportunity triumph over privilege and division. Before that, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and greetings I bid to the honorable judges, the speakers, timekeeper, and members of the floor, and my fellow teammate. Today, my role as the second speaker for the government is to first address and dismantle the main arguments brought by the government. Second, reinforce and clarify the points that are being given by my teammate. And third, I'll introduce new arguments that will add more depth and strengthen our case. So, firstly, I would like to rebut some of the points that have been given by the leader of the opposition, which is freedom. They say freedom of choice will be stripped, or rights of individual money will be hindered, basically. So the opposition argues that limiting inheritance could basically strip away their individual's right. But while the right to manage wealth during one's life is important, but it is we already place limitation on rights to protect society as a whole, such as cases for harm and safety. Similarly, limiting inheritance are also necessary intervention to protect concentrated wealth in the same circle. For example, the wealthy will be only the wealthy. Top 1% will be among only for those who are wealthy. The circles will not do. It will stay in the same circle. So they will say, and one of the second argument they have said was, who are we to decide where the money go? Who are we? We already make decisions on resource distribution through taxes and laws to promote fairness. This is the key point. Fairness in distribution of wealth will not only limiting inheritance doesn't necessarily strip individuals of their rights to pass their wealth, but instead it is regulating inheritance. This is the same thing as someone our ability as a human. There is law for a reason to limit us from behaving badly. So this is why this is the same thing we are applying. So before rather than we disallowing it, it is more about curbing and regulating so that the money is distributed to equally so that it could benefit the country as a whole rather than just an individual. All right, so I'd like to move on by giving my new arguments. First, I'll address two key issues that stem from unregulated inheritance, which is why, as a government, we would like to cap and curb these problems. Which is, firstly, I would like to it'll cause conflicts and create conflicts within families, and it'll widen the wealth disparity between the rich and the poor. So, family conflict and wealth division. When vast fortunes are inherited without any regulation, it'll families often will turn into a battleground. Everyone, the siblings, imagine a situation where like siblings turn against each other for money because maybe one of the older siblings might get more. Meanwhile, the middle child will get less. So this inherently will create some sort of dissatisfaction uh and tension between those siblings that will cause them uh to go to even as far as legal battles to have a fair share of inheritance because of this. So this is the reality, sadly. So as many wealthy families with tend to be and in addition, families, parents and they would tend to be certain biases. So biases between siblings, for example, between their loved ones, there might be biases. Oh, they like this person more. They like the first child more. So this, by inherently uh, capping the person, limiting it, and the amount of wealth being distributed can allow for can do not will not allow any uh unfair amount of wealth being distributed unevenly between the families. So this will create a better and harmonious society, and will not break the ties between the families. So the opposition might also say that it is about like poor family might if poor family and poor family value the family should have the autonomy to divide their wealth. The truth is, no set of values can actually protect those people uh, because money is it may be the lifeline of society, but it is not the necessary needs for ones to survive in their life. So by even any amount of money being distributed is not enough to cater for one's uh social needs. Second point I'd like to move on is the more broader aspect, which is the systemic issue, is that it'll increase wealth disparity and broaden a societal impact, which is uh without any regulation, the rich will inherit the among themselves. So enabling families to maintain their dominance over the economy. So you could see, for example, countries like Korea, where there are called chaebols, which is those who are rich, stays rich, and they are among the powerful elites that dictates the economy. And even Korea uh has been uh nicknamed as a country that is run by powerful elites. So by distributing wealth evenly during the inheritance will allow the society to have a fair economy chances. So imagine. I'd like to paint you a picture, which is imagine where society would uh where children of all economic backgrounds can have access to same opportunities, where wealthy people doesn't dictate your access to good education or a comfortable life. So by what we are trying to prove as a government is that we will equal the level playing field among the rich and the poor by distributing the wealth evenly, so that it does not create disparity between families and could be everyone could climb the economic ladder evenly. I would like to end my speech by emphasizing that by capping inheritance, we move to a fairer, more just society and harmonious society. While it is not, and wealth is not a barrier to success, but a resource for progress. And for that, I would like to end my case. Thank you.
The Deputy Prime Minister spent 7 minutes and 5 seconds. Then, to continue our debate today, I would like to call the second speaker of the opposition, Miss Alia. Here.
I believe I am audible. I would like to begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Assalamualaikum. I, Alain Shira, as the second speaker of the opposition side, will rebut the points given by the other team and lay out another 2 points to support our side. Before I start, I would like to reaffirm our stance, which we gladly oppose today's motion. So first of all, before moving on to my point, I would like to rebut a few points given by the government side, which is their example has emphasized on the wealth is given to only one kid, but they do not think about family with lots of children. Of course, if they have only one child, he will be greedy, and if there are many children, would they not have the conscience or the thought to share these assets? You stated this is to inspire fairness, but different families give different circumstances. Maybe family businesses, maybe families with one child, families with 10 children. These all have different circumstances that have to cater to each and one of them. So how is limiting how much one person can inherit is supposed to cater to this problem as a whole? You truly believe that limiting their inheritance will help them tackle this issue of fairness effectively? All right, moving on to my point, I would like to start with economical issues. Or let me specify on family businesses. Let's say a family that builds a succession and family business. Mostly, families do this for the name and also because they want their future generations to continue their legacy. Who wants their hard work to just go down the drain just like that? Of course, they will expect people to continue their succession, to continue their legacy, and what they have worked hard on for so many years, which is why no thank you, which is why they usually will try to which is why they usually will give they will give exposure to the children before actually inheriting it to their child. All right, so it should be up to the family, to the person of the wealth, to give their succession to the upcoming generation to continue this business, especially huge businesses. Usually are family oriented, and by limiting it cause not only their hard work down the drain but also cause damage to their business. All right, why do I say this? Because let's look at an example of a huge brand, for example Nestle or Walmart. We all know that these kind of businesses are family-oriented business. We as an outsider should not be given the option to interfere in their familial wealth and their business, because these big businesses have so many branches, for example. And if you limit the property that they can hold as a person, they will have to reconsider the branches that they have. They might have to even give up some of them, or they might have to work with they might have to work with pairing, which could cause so many other issues, which is why these all should depend on the person. It all depends on the structure of the family, the structure of the organization, of the business itself. And if you limit the property and money, do they just and if you limit the property and money, you are just simply ignoring everything else, all the other different circumstances regarding how each family works, and especially when it comes to businesses like this. All right, you might be asking, what about siblings? Siblings could share the property and they could run the business together. You do realize different people have different dreams, different people have different beliefs. There are siblings that would like to continue the succession, but there are also siblings that might not want to, and might even don't even bother about this issue, or don't even bother about the business. So you're just simply saying, oh, it doesn't matter. But the government are trying to treat this they are trying to treat this inheritance as if it is pension money. They are trying to make it like they are trying to treat it like money that they get after they retire, or property that they can only hold after they retire, which is simply unfair for families, especially comparing to the different circumstances. I am trying to highlight that different families have different issues, they have different circumstances, and this is why it is important. Sorry, no, thank you. And because And also, because of the situation, it could be a source of their demotivation, making the lost interest in huge businesses because they are worried for this issue to arise in the future. All right, moving on to inefficiency in redistributing this inheritance. We believe that this is an unrealistic action because simply of lack of foundations, lack of funding, lack of political connection, and lack of global influence. All right, for example, North Korea lacking in economic growth and financial stability. So you think that this is because of the difference between the wealth and the poor, but you might think it's effective on the surface by handling this issue, but you aren't paying attention to how this issue will affect our economy and people's wealth as a whole. The government is treating this issue like it is a pension money when we talk about family inheritance. Inheritance is not the root cause of inequality. They are only covering one aspect on the surface that is not tackling the roots of inequality, of why the wealth become wealthier and the poor become poorer. They talk about the difference of wealth, between different socio-economical classes when the key issue is clearly not inheritance, but tax systems, unequal pay, or limited social issues within communities. Wealth inheritance comes from the family itself. What disparity? What are you trying to talk about when you're talking about disparity between families, and how is it considering the economy as a whole? We are talking about their families. We are talking about the inheritance from in their generation. So why is it affecting the economy, and what does it have to do with the wealthy become wealthier and the poorer become poorer? And not to mention, this action has multiple loopholes where people will look for ways to hide their assets, or maybe even not report them to the government. They might even result in saving their assets in illegal banks.
Your eye.
I don't know. How will the government tackle this issue? With what reinforcements? And not to mention false redistribution, forging the inheritance. This all have to be taken into consideration, which is why if the government okay, all right, if the government limits the inheritance in one family, such as the poor family, would it not cause more suffering to the family? If then, what fairness are you trying to improve here? Would it not cause more suffering to them because they are not able to give the assets accordingly to how it's supposed to help their own family, which is why we believe that limiting inheritance is extremely unrealistic and is not going to help the society as a whole. It might seem useful in the surface. It might seem like, oh, this is to help people to not be greedy. This is how we are trying to help people to ensure fairness. But you are not paying attention to how different people have different backgrounds, and they all have their own circumstances, from how many family members they have, or how rich they are, how poor they are, how much taxes they have to pay, and the payment they receive from their jobs. So, which is why I believe that our argument is very strong, and I have never been more than proud to oppose. Thank you.
The second speaker spent 7 minutes and 2 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, and the honorable adjudicators, let us welcome the third speaker from the government team, Miss Alice. Here, here.
Can I have some time to rearrange my notes? Thank you. Am I audible? I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Today, um, as the third speaker of the side of government, I'll be doing three things. First, I'll be rebutting all the arguments made by the side of opposition. Second, I will be reconstructing my teammates' points. And third, I'll be summarizing my teammates' case. But before I continue, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Assalamualaikum, and a very good night. I bid to the West Educator, honorable timekeeper, my worthy opponents, my loyal teammates, and not to forget members of the floor. First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, the side of opposition keep on saying that we limit the money, and because of that, the money cannot go to the next generation. But it seems like the side of opposition seems to be having and hearing issues, because we have clearly stated in our definition, which is that the amount of money has to be reported to the government, so that there wouldn't be such an issues where the money is being limited. All right. So another point made by the side of opponents, which is freedom of choice. Sure, ladies and gentlemen, side of opponent, if you want freedoms of choice, this means that you will also have to face the negative consequences that comes with it. We, the side of government, we are not stopping people fully from inheriting their money, but we're just simply suggesting that there should be limits to the amount of money that are being inherited. Because if we did not put a limit to it, it could lead to negative consequences, as per mentioned by my team's member. Like first,
you would end up wasting the money, which is through spending. And second of all is that the existence of families conflicts. And third of all is a disparity between rich and poor, which I will explain later, more later on. So the opposition side have emphasized over and over again, it's like my money, my choice. I'm sure you say that your money is your choice. But I have a question about like the taxes that even like rich people have to pay for the taxes. So this the opposition still want to argue and see that to to the to the authority and say like, oh, this is my money. Why do I have to pay for the taxes? So moving on to like a clear elaboration on my teammate's point, which is the first point made by my first speaker, which is my prime minister. Sorry, which is first is to prevent wasteful amount of money. So, ladies and gentlemen, have you heard of a famous phrase, which is money can buy happiness? Sure, when you have a lot of money, suddenly it will make you automatically happy. You feel so powerful where you can have like access to every single thing, but the happiness doesn't last for a very long time. So the happiness only exists for a short amount of time. Okay, this is when you start to feel a sense of helplessness, where your life is dull. Well, nothing is interesting anymore. And this is when you start to find something that integrates you. Like, for example, like drugs and alcohol. The truth is that the uses of the substances and things is actually like not contributing anything positive to the country and even yourself. Rather, it's only damaging your own self, which is we set up government, which is exactly why we set up government is like Swiss today motion. And second of all, point made by my deputy prime minister, which is to avoid family conflicts. The thing is that it's no longer like a weird story if you hear people like if we hear family members fighting over each other due to the unfairness inherited amount of money. So when you grow up from the same family, you eat the same food, you sleep with the same beds in the same house. So the question is um why would you get a different amount of money when it comes to the inheritance? So the truth is that um we find this very problematic because these problems could lead to a very dangerous outcome, which is that um it could be to many like violence committed, where there's been many cases where people end up killing their siblings because of conflicts that happen within the family that that came from the reason of the unfairness when it comes to the distribution of money, right? And it creates uh the disharmony within the society. And also the points made by my last speaker, my deputy prime minister, which is a wealthy disparity between rich and poor. So the thing is that um when rich people, when they have a lot of money, so they have like a better access to education, to healthcare, towards like just any kind of resources, even like when it comes to the main thing, like food and drinks. So we believe that we want to um draw a line between these bridges, and we want to care for the poor people and help them to kind of like receive uh, a a better amount of resources due to the fact that there are like such a big bridges that exist between the rich and the poor. Before I continue, is there any POI? Well, I assume no. All right. So before I rest my keys, I would like to reaffirm that we, the side of government, totally agree with today's motion. And with that, I'm about to propose.
The third speaker of the government team spent 5 minutes and 55 seconds. Well, ladies and gentlemen and the honorable educators, this is the third speaker from the opposition team, Miss Humaira. Here.
Audible? Dia nak reply. Ya, aku tak audible ke mana tak balas. Am I audible, guys? Can you guys hear me? Can
Yep.
someone-
Yep, loud and clear.
I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. My sincere gratitude, Mr. Speaker. A very good night to the honorable educators, esteemed timekeepers, my faithful members of the opposition, my dearest opponents of the government, and lastly, members of the floor who will in due time agree with us. I'm going to be direct and going to rebut the speech of the Prime Minister of the government team. She mentioned about the idea of limitations of generational wealth could prevent to the act of wasteful use of money. They failed to analyze the fact that humans came from different backgrounds and the fact that the act of wasteful use of money does not only apply to wealthy people. For example, we have to stood in the real world where poor people also practice the act of wasteful use of money. This actually roots to the fact that individuals' characteristics that from different upbringing, and this is a morality issue and does not relate anything to the motion of our discussion for this evening. They also said that this could lead to the act of greedy people, gambling, and a lot of more wasteful use of money. This is quite embarrassing for me as the opposition team to remind to the government team that the government actually have law and regulations to counter this issue. People who deserve punishing, they can reserve consequences of their actions. There are judicial powers. They can bring these cases to the courts. For example, people who deal with gambling can be presented or they will have to pay compensation, for examples. This just shows that their arguments lack practicality and they come off as very cupcakes and rainbows of the ideas that the limitation of wealth can also benefit the society as a whole. Apart from that, no, thank you. Apart from that, the Prime Minister of the government team also fails to stood in the real world and provide us a strong and solid ways to execute this without any disagreements. Okay, how do you ensure that the idea of this limitation is going to be accepted throughout our society, throughout these wealthy people with no disagreements? How do we deal with wealthy people who have anger issues, for example, the gangsters? How do you deal with that? How do you set this limitation to these type of people who are very hard to get through their mind that this idea can be benefits to them and the society as a whole? This shows that their argument. No, thank you. Please. This shows that their argument is very weak, with lacking proof and analysis on how to execute this limitation throughout our global, and that could also affect the society as a whole and the government as well. I would like to reaffirm and reconstruct the arguments that is provided by my first speaker of the opposition team. She mentioned about the fact that limitation of amount that someone can inherit is simply stripping away the freedom of choice as people. For example, if I put you in the situation that you came from a family with wealthy backgrounds, and the government is actually trying to implement this law and regulations towards you, how do you feel about that? You will feel like an outsider is trying to involve in your family issues. We as outsider actually who are we as outsider to actually decide on the fate of the family's generational wealth, that they actually work for years and years actually became stability, and they work for this generational wealth to actually build an empire with financial stability for their family. No, thank you. This is all purely from their hard work, and limitation would cause, for example, a loss of hardworking characteristics. When they are nurtured in their mind that when they work so hard, this wealth can be limited, they would feel less useful for them to actually do a lot of hard working when they are actually trying to receive the full amount of wealth that they can actually receive. For example, family of Arnold, who actually continuously works very hard to achieve more and to give back to the society and economic growth. And apart from that, I would like to move on to the second speech of Deputy Prime Minister of the government team. She said that the idea of limitation the amount of wealth someone can inherit actually promote fairness. This is very delusional, as they fail to understand and they fail to capture the real meaning of fairness. The idea of fairness is actually does not only apply to low income people, it can also apply to wealthy people. Why are we stripping away the human rights of people just because they came from a wealthy background? I don't see any solid arguments to the actuality of the real issue now. The government team went on
a 21-minute tangent on the cupcakes and rainbows of this issue, where they failed to actually give us or provide us a very solid ways to actually execute this without disregarding the real effect of this motion. They only discuss the motion on a surface level and does not take into consideration the emotions and the reaction of these individuals. The Deputy Prime Minister of the government team also mentioned about increased societal impact. From my understanding, are you trying to suggest that we as outsiders deserve to benefit from the wealth that these wealthy families have worked so hard for? This delusional argument fails to capture the reality of this issue. And I would like to
So
reaffirm
I
my second speaker arguments about this motion. The main motive for people who inherit generational wealth is to build a stable empire for the upcoming and continuous generation. For example, we can see this does not only apply to our society as a whole, it can also benefit the government from the government side. For example, the more income of the family, the more amount of taxes they are required to pay, which benefits the government too. They fail to see that the fact that inheritance can also bring benefits to both sides of our people. Apart from that, they also made my first speaker also mentioned about human rights. They fail to understand that human rights are not absolute and can be regulated for social benefits. My second speaker of the opposition team mentioned about how the idea of limitation of the amount of wealth can actually affect our economy as a whole. For example, as much as you hate to admit it, the people of the government resort to wealthy families to seek help, especially financial aspects. For instance, during election campaign, this is very a sensitive issue that nobody really talks about, but we have to face the reality of it. Apart from that, they also need influence from wealthy people to reach the intended audience. For example, proms that include a lot of connection with wealthy people in order to nurture our society as a whole and does not hold back our society from economic growth. And with that, I would like to rest my case.
The third speaker spent 6 minutes and 58 seconds. For the reply speech session, let's welcome from the opposition team, Miss Miss Alia. Here.
I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. My team has given all the information and completed today's task well. I will sum up our debate for today. Thank you to our speaker. We, the opposition team, believe that our points stand strong. However, the government side seems not happy as they have stated. Okay, first of all, how can you ensure that the government themselves will not exploit the assets that the citizens have left with them? Before I go into what the opposition has stated, let me emphasize on this first. We truly believe that you are not paying attention to this issue at a wider scale. We believe that um, the ideology that you are trying to propose is extremely unrealistic. You can never ensure the quality of this action and how, because it's going to affect the whole society. Every single person is going to have to go through this action, which is why how are we supposed to put in our full trust to the government? Well, like you stated, that they are going to hold the assets until they turn 55 years old, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Which is why under what circumstances are we supposed to believe that the government will hold these assets and not exploit them? We question their mechanism, and we are unclear of how this action is actually more effective. They are simply being idealistic and not realistic. The first speaker has stated about their mechanism, but the remaining speakers have ignored it, which causes ambiguity in this issue and how they are trying to implement it. Moving on, how can you ensure that the government themselves Moving on, they have quoted that the freedom of choice will give negativity when it is simply catering to the different circumstances of each family, and how you stated earlier about killing and negative impacts between siblings or family relationships. That is all simply a matter of their upbringing and their characteristics and their moral ethics. There are, of course, when doing the inheritance, when giving the inheritance. There are, of course, people that help them make the decisions, professionals regarding assets. There are job scopes regarding this issue. I think we are all aware how they go for consultations regarding inheritance before actually giving it to their family or generations. We've stated about how economical issues arising because the government loves to talk about how the wealthy become wealthier and the poor become poorer. Like we stated, inheritance is not the root of this issue. So many other factors have caused issues of inequality within different socioeconomic classes. Let it be the paying their job, their job payment, or even other issues like taxes and other different familial issues, different circumstances regarding their families. We've also stated about how it is up to the person leaving the inheritance to make the decision regarding their familial conditions. They know their family is the best, and of course, they will have to consider the different people in their families from the first child, and even if they have so many other children. So limiting it will not only cause the you might think that limiting will cause some sort of peace between the family, but it could also cause it could cause hatred, it will cause resentment, even though it seems like, oh, it's similar, it's the same. But you do realize that assets don't come simply in money. It could come in it could come in other different forms and shapes, which is why it is actually never it's actually unrealistic to say that we could give it equally. We've questioned how they will make sure the efficiency of this action will take place while so many people will consider hiding their assets, false distribution, or even forging inheritance. If this action is implemented, of course, if they feel like this is not suitable for their family conditions, they will think about this condition, or simply, like you said earlier, about them being greedy. This does not handle the problem of them being greedy. It's the same. And there are so many loopholes in their unrealistic action, which is why we believe this motion should not stand, and we have never been more than proud to oppose. Thank you.
The Speaker of the opposition team spent 4 minutes and 1 second. The last, here is the reply speech from the government team, Miss Miza. Here.
Wait, hold up. Let me sort out my notes. Okay, I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable judges, I'd like to, as we approach the final moments of this debate, let us take a moment and reflect on the key points raised, which is the opposition has not only failed to address our most crucial arguments, of which they refuse to engage with deeper implications of unlimited inheritance, suggest a lack of confidence in their stance. Instead of presenting solutions or valid rebuttals, they've relied on surface level arguments that overlook the very real and long-term consequences and looking at the broader picture that we as government have highlighted. So, firstly, the weaknesses is that they are lack of engagement with our points. When we have, I think, several times tried to give the POI, they refuse, which shows the lack of confidence they have towards their own stance. So they don't consider how. So this just shows that by refusing to acknowledge our own points, it shows that they don't have they don't demonstrate that demonstrate an ability to answer their own their own opinion regarding their own stance, which shows the lack of confidence they have towards their own points. Secondly, the argument is freedom to do what they wish with their money shows that the opposition continues to champion the individual rights and freedom as their core argument, but claiming that limiting inheritance violates personal rights is absolutely false, because the freedom to pass the wealth is not an absolute right without consequences. Again, we are focusing on the words consequences here. They fail to address the repercussion of allowing a system that perpetuates inequality and entrenches class divides. So, meanwhile, we as the government, unlike the opposition, they merely talk about individual rights in short term and about how this would how it's not as the we should not look at it as bigger scale. But this, as a government, we believe that we have thoroughly proven why this policy must be implemented, of which we have provided real world example and demonstrated how wealth accumulations for the ones that have been given, which is about the Korean wealthy elites, is that top perpetuates the inequality, illustrates how limiting inheritance promotes fairness. Our policy isn't just theoretical; it is backed with real life examples, as mentioned before. The opposition talks about freedom, but we, as a government, have shown that our approach is the one that will create a long lasting positive changes for society, which is a harmonious society that is runs by equal opportunity that does not divide each other by wealth. Our policy will allow future generations to thrive without constraints imposed by entrenched wealth and ensuring a fair distribution of money, resources, promoting an economic mobility. So, like to the I'd like to emphasize the short-term and long-term solutions that we have proposed is that they have failed to consider the opposition kept emphasizing on individual freedom, but we are concerned with long-term society stability. As mentioned before, this notion that we should allow people freedom to pass down wealth without restriction ignores the long-term, the harms result, which is this policy is not about immediate gratification. We're not, this thing, it takes a long term, and we will see those improvements in our economy for in the long run. This is not something that this is something that has been proven in our case, of which our policy is addresses the root cause of this issue, which is providing a sustainable long-term solution. We are looking things at a wider scale and a broader and the broader impact of the society. So in conclusion, I would like to I would like to say that the opposition has failed to address main issues, and I believe as the government, we have won this case.
The speaker spent 4 minutes and 10 seconds. That is the end of our debate today, and we will allow the honorable educators to decide the winner of this debate. That is all for our debate today. We would like to thank the debaters and audience. Debaters may leave the meeting. Thank you, debaters.
Thank you, everyone. Good debate.
You guys. Have all of them left?
Judges, you guys can start discussing because all the participants have left the meeting.
Okay.
Is the broadcast stopped?
The broadcast about to stop.
Stop that
About to
first.
stop. Okay.
Stop that first. My God.
Bincang mana bincang?
Ini je apparently.
Faham. Okay, we're good to go, Harry? Is the broadcast stopped?
Alright.
Are we still live?